Ew. Hey everyone, thank you for being so patient. Thank you, thank you. Welcome all in chat. Welcome to all the mods. I hope everybody is staying home, staying healthy, staying home if you can. Let me turn down my, got an echo. Welcome to J is for Justice. If you are here for the first time, I am Jay and welcome to my channel. Tonight I have a special guest, but before I bring him on, I wanted to kind of give you guys an update and I have a little announcement. Excuse me. The other night during my live, we did a fundraiser for 5 J is for Justice followers who are in dire need right now, who are out of work and have children and, you know, are having a hard time making ends meet. So we were so successful. We were able to help 2 families. I got them e-gift cards. And tonight I'm going to do the same thing. So if any super chats come in or if you any donations to PayPal, I just want to let you guys know that we took care of 2 families the other night because of your generosity. So hopefully we can get the 3rd and 4th tonight if you guys make it rain, and then we can get up to our 5 families to help, which is really important. I'm really impressed with how everybody's coming together at this time. It's really important. So without further ado, I want to welcome Randy. Hello, Randy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Randy is Eric Proch. Is it Proch?
Proch. You said
Proch.
it right.
Okay, you don't say the T.
Right.
Okay. Eric Proch's father, and Eric went missing July 22nd of 2016 from Lakewood, Colorado. This really struck a chord with me too, Randy, because my son used to live in Lakewood. We're from Michigan. He moved out to Lakewood and he lived there for a good couple years.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where Randy's condo was, but I'm sure it's not too far from where my son lived. And that, you know, that just kind of, that struck me because I've been out there to visit, you know, I've seen the area. So to be able to kind of picture it and have been there, it kind of hit close to home for me. It struck a chord. So I want to just let you kind of start telling the story. And then if I have any questions, I'll stop you and ask. But we start on July the 22nd, 2016, unless we need to go over some information prior to that at all.
No, that's pretty much it. Eric and Pretty, this is his fiance. They just got engaged a few months before they moved in. They had only been in the condo for about 2.5, 3 months. Eric is a paramedic in South Park, Colorado. It's just about it's 2.5 hours drive, maybe 2 hour drive west of where they are. They had just moved down there and they moved in together. They were planning on getting married in September.
Were they together for a long time, or?
They had been together for a year and a half, 2 years, I think, before that, just dating. When they first met in EMT school, and after they had graduated, she contacted him on Facebook afterwards. They got together, started dating, and at first it was kind of iffy. I think just the normal single guy now has a serious girlfriend, so he had to learn how to split his time with his friends and his girlfriend, and it wasn't going well.
And how he was 25 when he went missing.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was their problems at first, and that's
which is pretty normal. Yeah.
Right off the bat. So we never saw problems between them. They appeared to us, to always be just the perfect little couple. They kind of reminded us of our relationship. We never saw anything on her side that she was controlling or anything like that. But after the fact, a lot of the people that we've talked to, she was very much like that, and but we'd never seen it. She was always on her best behavior when we
She
were,
hid it. Yeah, she hid it from you.
yeah. So, um, as far
And
as that,
what was Eric? What's Eric's personality like? Is he kind of a go with the flow kind of guy? Like,
yeah, he is. Erica was my little mini me. He, you know, how you get that curse from your parents. I hope you have one just like you. Well, that's
yeah,
why
I
him
have
and
one too. Yeah.
yes, that's why we got along so well.
Oh.
Because I knew his brain.
Yeah, you're so much alike that you can understand each
So,
other. I get that.
yeah, so he's very laid back. He had a great sense of humor. Um, just very much like people, like helping people. That's how he got into the profession. Um, he was kind of through high school. He was just, that guy who went to school. And my wife had actually gone to like a hair appointment or something, and she was talking with a lady about uh, the EMT school and uh, how her son really didn't know what he wanted to do. Eric originally wanted to go into the army, and as it got closer to graduation, he kind of faded away from that and was working at a barbecue place, KT's, uh, and he was working his way up the ladder there, but he wanted something different. So,
He wanted
my,
to help people.
yeah, and he
That's what
came
it
home,
sounds like.
right, and my wife came home and introduced him to this and said, "Hey, I was talking to a lady. They have these EMT classes. He didn't want to go to college. He was 100% sure about that. Um, and so when Denise introduced him to that and kind of explained the gist of what was going on, he really kind of fell in love with it and thought, yeah, this is something I'd really like to do."
He looks happy. I have the slideshow going on the screen. I have all the pictures that Denise sent me,
Yeah,
and the one of him sitting in the back of the ambulance. He looks
he
so
was
happy,
very proud of what he did. So,
as he should be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as EMT school went, he got through that and he got a job with a company. It's called AMR, and they're nationwide, American Medical Response. The people that he worked with just loved him, and he loved being there. But being an EMT wasn't enough. He wanted to do more of the medical side. He wanted to be able to help more than what he was. Um, a lot of the stuff as an EMT is pretty basic, and he couldn't do the things he wanted. You're basically a medical cab driver going
Yeah.
back and forth, more transport than an actual.
He wanted to be hands on.
Yes, yes, that's a good description. So he went, furthered himself, took the paramedics class. The summer before, once he graduated, he went to a fill in for a paramedic in Craig, Colorado, which from our house is like a 4.5 hour drive. And so he would do that
Wow.
because he knew that he would get the experience to move into other jobs. And so the South Park job had just opened up from there, and so it's just a 2 hour drive from his house, but he worked 48-hour shifts, so he only had to make that once. He'd drive up, stay 2 days, finish
Smart
his shift.
kid.
Yeah, so then
Determined.
with his spare time, he was doing some classes for St. Anthony's Hospital, and doing some classes. They had just started up at South Park, a little program like a community outreach, and he was doing like CPR and first aid type classes. Um, then he also worked for another ambulance, Mountain State Ambulance, down here in Denver on his days off. So did that part.
Wow.
So
Ambitious young man there.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good kid. He really was. He was my kayaking buddy. He had,
Oh.
you be in that profession, being first responders, you get to see some stuff that most of us don't ever have to deal with. Thank
Sure.
God. One of the uh, cases was his birthday is June 14th, and so this was just before he went and disappeared. Before he disappeared, and he had a 12-year-old little boy. He hung himself.
Oh my God.
Eric couldn't revive him, and they lost him, and that kind of got
Hmm.
to him a little bit. So
Oh, I
you get
bet.
Yeah, you get some of those. Him and I paddled the day before he went missing, and he was fine. He was dealing with things. I talked to him about it, and I know his boss, we had talked to him about it. If Eric was doing okay, do you think he needs any extra help? And so Paul, who's his supervisor up in South Park, explained to us, he goes, we have a kind of a debriefing after these kind of calls. He goes, just for everybody to wind down, talk about it. He says, I keep an eye on them. They're like my family. He goes, so I know what's going on. He goes, if he'd have needed more help, uh, I'd have I'd have suggested it, and we'd have brought someone in. We have the resources to do that, and so it appeared that Eric was doing okay with that. I know it's out there that it's possible he could have went and harmed himself. He had a good friend from AMR ambulance service that just maybe a year before had taken his own life, and
Mm.
it was in Eric's actual ambulance district up in South Park at the time. So if Eric hadn't punched out 2 hours earlier, he'd have been on that call. And so, yeah, that really got it. So,
Mm. That's like a double whammy.
yeah, yeah. So he was good friends with them, and he was actually angry that he did it because he left behind a little girl and his wife. And so he was really mad that somebody would do that. And so,
So he felt that that was kind of a selfish thing to do.
yeah, exactly. So, but you see what they see and the things he's going through. You never, that's always in the back of your mind.
Of
So
course.
you worry about those things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is
anyway, that night he was coming home. They were going to have a little party, a get together, just a few friends. Um, they, uh, Eric's good friend from AMR, Caleb, and Preeti's sister, Priyanka, wanted to get together to meet each other. They had met each other once before, but they kind of wanted to, get to know each other a little bit better. And so they put together this little get together was basically for that. Um, so Eric was on his way home that night. He got home late because him and his partner from Mountain States Ambulance were on their way back to the station, and there was a accident that had happened. Um, there was nobody on the scene yet, and it hadn't been called in. They were the first ones to roll up, and so even though they weren't called to that scene, they felt like that was their responsibility to stop and help out.
mm,
Um, so they did that, and so the party started at like 7 o'clock, and he didn't get there till like 7:45, 8 o'clock. Um, but as soon as he walks in, he gets a phone call from his partner that night and saying, "Oh yeah, the boss was mad because we stopped at uh, this accident. We shouldn't have stopped in." But so that kind of ticked him off a little bit from what Pretty said. Um, but he was doing fine the rest of the night. When he got there, they're walking up the stair. He's walking up the stairs, and his condo has like a little balcony. It walks by the spare bedroom, has a window in there. So they all thought they would uh, surprise him and make like a surprise party. And so they were sitting in that room. Well, when Eric walked by, he looked in, he could see him in there. So that kind of blew up in their face. So
oh, so this was a surprise party for him.
was not supposed to be a surprise party. This was basically just to get together with family with
Oh, okay.
but they were going to do that. They'd already been started drinking.
Oh,
So
so this was kind of an impromptu
right,
little
yeah,
celebration.
yeah, it was just to get together, and so there was only like 10 people there, and so up until the very last part of the party, there was everybody left around like 10 o'clock, maybe 10, 11 o'clock, and it was just down to the four. It was Pretty, her sister Priyanka, Eric, and his friend Caleb.
Now,
And
was Caleb dating Priyanka
not at the time. That's what the basic party was for,
to
to
get them
get
to
together.
meet? Okay.
Yeah, so that they could get to know each other a little better. They had met at some other, maybe like at a bar or something like that, when they all went out for drinks or something,
Was
and
Caleb like a really good friend of Eric's?
they worked together at AMR as EMTs. At the time of Eric's disappearance, Caleb was just starting to go through the paramedics class. So uh, that's they were partners for a short time at AMR when he was an EMT. So they were pretty good friends. Um, then that night, I guess after everybody left, they got into a discussion, and Priyanka had brought up the Black Lives Matter at that time was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were told by some of the people there it didn't get heated. Some of the people said it did get a little heated. Um,
So they were debating this whole
yes,
movement going on.
right. And so, for your viewers who don't know, Preeti is of Indian descent, and so she is a little darker skinned. And so they got into it about that, about, well, um, Eric's point of view was all lives matter, not just Black lives. Am I supposed to not go to one of these because I'm afraid that I'll be mistaken as a policeman because of their uniforms are kind of the same,
Mm-hmm.
and get shot by accident? He goes, so what am I
Right.
supposed to
So he had legitimate concerns.
do? Yeah, yeah, it sounded like it. Eric wasn't brought up to be prejudiced or that way, and I don't think he was. I'd never heard him say anything like that. During the argument, Priyanka told him, he goes, well, if you feel that way, uh, why are we getting married? Look at my skin. And called him a bigot, um, is according to the police report. So that's when we get on here and we're telling you this is the story that she gave us. So this is, you can go in and look at the police report. It's
This
right
is
on.
her official statement.
Yeah, there's nothing, I'm not embellishing it. I'm not trying to slant it one way or the other. Because as far as we know, uh, this is all that happened. So the four of them, Priyanka's statements change during the course of the investigation and everything. We'll
Mm.
call it an investigation. Um,
I've read a few different conflicting stories of what happened that night, and that was something that I was really interested to talk to you to find out
right,
where all of these different statements came from.
right. So I'll finish it, and then if it's something that you didn't
Sure.
have a question about, you just holler.
Okay.
So anyway, they got kind of heated, and Eric was kind of upset about it. Um, After the comment from Pretty, he went into the back room, went to the bathroom, then came back, grabbed the trash, and went downstairs. Um, you go down their stairs, the condo complex. He's on the second floor. You walk down, and there's a dumpster right below him. And so he grabbed pizza boxes and took them down to the trash. And Pretty followed him down, and they continued to argue down there. And uh, he told her that I got to take a walk around the complex just to cool off. He goes, I just need a minute. And then so he walked off, and that was the last we ever seen of him.
Okay,
So
my question is, what were Caleb and Priyanka doing when she followed him out to the dumpster?
they were upstairs watching TV, um, as far as we know, and they didn't even realize that she had followed him down and that they had walked down.
Did they
So,
realize they were arguing? Like, did they hear it?
and they didn't say anything about that. They said they didn't realize they were still arguing about it. So no,
Oh, okay. So has Caleb been in contact with you?
no. Um, After, let's see, it was October. We were fortunate enough. Lakewood police did have contact with a dog team, and they had set up searches during that week after. Uh, when we reported it, we didn't. The night that this happened, we didn't hear anything about this till Sunday at about 2:30 in the afternoon. Is when we found out. She finally called. When she called our house to talk to Denise, she didn't. We're a very close family. We have just the two boys. We have Eric has an older brother, my oldest son, Marcus, and then we always used to travel together. We camped together. We did, every
Close family. Yeah.
yeah. So very close. Um, Even while they're dating and engaged, we did stuff together as couples with Eric and Pretty, and so we became very close. We thought of her as like already our daughter. So um, we didn't hear till 2:30 the next day, and the first thing she asked or was telling her, well, she didn't ask, "Is Eric there?" We never got that call. And if it was me or my wife, we're both thinking, well, why wouldn't you have called our house and seen if you got a ride there? If he, uh, someone came and picked him up. His cousins all live in the area up here. He has a cousin Drew who they are like brothers, and so they would have, if he needed a place and didn't want to come to our house, he could have went with them. But she never. We weren't even in on the where she was searching.
Yeah,
So
I was looking at your timeline. I'm assuming that you guys run the helpfindericprac.com.
yes,
I was reading your timeline, which you really put together well. She didn't even report him missing until the next morning, correct?
9:30 that morning, she had made a call looking for contacts. Did he get picked up? Did he get arrested? Did because he left drinking. They were drinking that night. Um, he he had like 4 or 5 microbrews, and they did some shots. So
Mm-hmm.
um, we never got really a straight answer whether he was if he was falling down drunk. Was he?
Right, right. And that was going to be one of my questions. Were they in, how intoxicated were they? But it sounds like the three that could tell us that are being tight-lipped about that.
Yeah. That they in their reports they were like he, he was drunk when he walked off. Um, he went downstairs without shoes. He only had socks on and his cell phone. He didn't have his car keys. Nothing. His car's still there, and that's
So they said he left with no shoes on.
right.
He had his cell phone with him
Yep.
and no car keys, nothing. Obviously in July, it's warm in Colorado.
Right.
Um,
During that time, there were it was kind of a record streak. There, I don't know, it was like 14 days over 90 degrees, something like
oh
that.
my
It was
gosh. Yeah,
yeah, it
really
was
hot.
searches were horrible.
Oh, I bet. And another thing I wanted to ask you about was your timeline. I kind of wanted to skim over that a little bit because I think it's important how you've broken this down. And I wanted to ask you where you got the time frame from the police reports. Is that where you get your
Um,
estimates? Like you have 11:30 p.m. is approximately when they get into the argument.
right,
And then you say from 12 to 12:45 a.m. is the approximate time when he took the trash out and she followed him. And then they got into more of an argument at the dumpster and then he walked away.
right.
So it says from 1 to 3:30 that they searched for him but couldn't find him and didn't call the Lakewood Police Department until 9 a.m. So my question is, what were they doing from 3:30 to 9? Did they just go to sleep?
Um, that's where stories get different.
I mean, is that
Uh,
what they're saying, that they fell asleep or
no, they continued to search for a while, and then uh, Caleb left, went home, and then Priyanka left. And then Priyanka's stories changed. Originally, she went home. Her parents live literally like a mile away from them to the west, and she went home. She continued to drink and then passed out on the couch. Um, then, when like 6 months later, when we convinced the police to bring them back in and question them all, her story was she drove up 280, 285 towards there's a cross up on the hill up there, and it's called Mount Lindo. It's like a I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of a has like a place where you could go and you can spread ashes of a loved one or put up memorials. It's not really a graveyard, but people have like stones and stuff that they put up there. So her her report says she drove up there and then drove up to their liquor store, the family liquor store, which is in Evergreen, which is about 30 minutes west of them, maybe 20, 15, 20 minutes west of where they live now. And she went up there to uh, watch TV and relax because she didn't want to deal with her parents. But in the police report, she says her parents go to bed pretty early. So there's a lot of conflicting in Priyanka's story. Um, Pretty's story and Caleb's story both stay pretty close. Um, but Pretty went back. Pretty stayed in the condo to hoping that if Eric came back, because he didn't have his keys, he couldn't get in if she locked it. Um, then Priyanka and Caleb together walked down. There's a little strip mall just south of them and searched in that area down there to see if he had gone down there. Then Caleb went to drive around, searched for another hour, and then he left. And then uh, Pretty didn't talk to her sister again, according to the police report, till the next day around noon. She went to um, Bandimere Speedway, which is a race drag strip, and that's I don't know if you're familiar with Red Rocks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that is literally you can see it off their patio. It's on the other
Oh,
side of
wow.
the back, and Bandimere sits right down there. So they had the Mile High Nationals, which is the big race every year here. So people come from all over the country. So that was there that night. Red Rocks a sold out show, and nothing has ever come of that. But that we'd had uh, anybody see anything the next day about him or walking around that night. So
Hmm. Did what was her demeanor when she called you and when you saw her? I mean, she stayed at the condo. Did you see her at all? Did you?
yes, we when we got down there at 2:30, we met at the condo and we talked with her first. I had brought my bike down because I knew I could cover more ground that way, and so I took off riding, and Denise stayed with her, and we had a couple more family members come down and meet us that night. And she seemed to be fine. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary other than she was upset, like she should have been.
So she was visibly upset, and all
Yeah,
of that didn't make you feel any type of suspicion towards her or anything like that.
no, we didn't. And to this day, I couldn't say, in my opinion, I thought she was okay. Just the weird behavior after this has happened between her family. Um, None of them want to talk to us. None of them uh,
Hmm.
help. We had searches with the dog team. They kept going after the fact. So probably for the next month or so, we got together and searched different areas, and she would show up and she would search with us. The cutoff point came about October. She Her younger brother had just turned 16, and so we're assuming that their insurance was all on uh, uh, the same bill. So it sounded like that maybe they were splitting it between all the girls and the family.
Mm.
And having a 16-year-old boy on the insurance, it's going to send those rates sky high. So my brother-in-law is actually Eric's insurance agent, and so we got a call from him saying that Pretty called and she flew off the handle. She put a complaint on him, and my niece, Jeff's daughter, also worked there, and so she's the one that you get a hold of when you call there. Um, and so she explained to her that uh, what she wanted to do was get put on Eric's insurance so that they would get the double car and the condo and bundle that and then get a discount. Um, Jeff explained to her that that's not a good idea because if for some reason you get into an accident or whatever, um, you would have to have both signatures to that check would come in both of their names. So it
Right.
would be virtually useless. And so she didn't like that answer. Um,
Hmm.
so she got very upset at that point. She told him, and I don't know how she did it, but she canceled the insurance on Eric's car. At that point, Eric's car was in her garage, and we just left it that way. Um, she was, everything was fine up till then. And so at that point, we found out there was no insurance on the car. Fortunately, my wife's had to co-sign for Eric, and he hadn't taken her off the title yet. So
Hmm.
we contacted her and told her we're coming down to get the car. This car doesn't have insurance on it. If something happened to your condo unit and burnt down, this car is worthless. So she was very upset with us that we were coming to do that, and then this is when we
Hmm.
saw her.
That was when the contact stopped.
Yeah, I went down to the condo to meet her there. She wasn't there. So I figured she went to her parents. We went to her parents' house, and sure enough, that's where she was. And so she got into a basic screaming match with me, and then we calmed down. And I thought everything was good. We got the key from her. We took the car home. Um, I thought we left on good terms. Next month rolls around, we send her just a text, hope you and your family have a good Thanksgiving, and nothing. It was just that was pretty much the last time we talked to her. And then uh, about a year ago or so, we uh, tried to text her and say that we wanted to talk with her, and what we wanted to talk to her was getting Eric's stuff back. Um, we didn't really care about the condo. She'd been making the payments on it since
So she kept the condo then.
she has the condo. We talked to a lawyer, and just to get a letter to send to her to start the process, it was like $8,000 just to do that. And so to go to court and get Eric's stuff back would have been about 20 to 30,000.
Oh my goodness.
And you're talking about a 25-year-old guy who lives in a condo. This stuff has sentimental value to us, but it's not worth us going into a 30,000
Hmm.
hole. So that kind of got dropped. Um, so we have the gun safe that we took home to open up so that we could see if all his guns were in there. Um, Thinking that, you know, there was one gun that ended up missing. It was a handgun, it was a Glock. And so that's why we still feel like, you know,
Oh.
could have harmed himself. That gun has never showed up. Um, so, but if he did, I don't think he would have gone that far. He didn't have his car. We searched that area so much that think we'd have found him by
Did you
now.
guys search? There was the dumpster searched.
The dumpsters were searched the next day when we went through. Um,
Was she able to prove that he did put a bag of garbage in there?
you know, that's one of the bad things. We didn't check for that at the time. We didn't think about that. I mean, you
Right.
have someone who goes missing. It's not something you have a checklist to go through.
So the police, when the police were called on July 22nd, did they take it seriously, or were they like, well, he's
No,
an adult, he can walk off if he wants. They had an argument. He's probably cooling off. He'll be back type thing. I mean, we hear that a lot.
that's the exact same thing we've heard through all of this. It is I think it's their standard mantra is, uh, it's not against the law for someone to walk away. And I don't think Eric would have done that since Eric's
It doesn't sound like he's too close with his family to just walk off.
that's not his personality. Um,
So what is Pretty's theory on what has happened? What does she think happened?
I think in her mind, she's the scorned widow who just he walked off, he left me.
Oh boy.
Um,
So she's the victim in all this.
yes,
Eric's missing, but she's somehow the victim. Wow.
yeah. In my opinion,
Gosh.
that's kind of what the way we see it. So
I'm
uh,
I'm so
that's
sorry that you
through the
guys have had to go through this. This is
yeah,
awful.
so part of it, and we didn't, because we were still close to Pretty when it first happened, and so she didn't want the media to be brought in because she didn't want to make a big fuss because if Eric saw that, he wouldn't come back because he's, proud. And so it kind of made sense at first. And later on, we're kicking ourselves because we should have got every piece of media and got this story out. And the media at first did really do a good job of getting the story out there. And
I watched some of the reports from the Denver News before we talked tonight. So they covered it well. I thought, I mean, a lot of times they don't even pick up missing adults,
right.
you
And I
know?
think him being a paramedic, I think um, he had some contacts and people.
Hmm.
We had some days over 200 people out there looking for him. Um,
Wow.
when we originally called it in that Saturday, we didn't hear from Lakewood police until that night around 7:30, 8 o'clock. They sent a patrolman out to take the actual uh, record and the statement. Then we didn't hear again from them until Monday afternoon around 1 o'clock. They finally, my wife got a hold of them again and said, you know what, we have this missing kid. What's going on? And so they sent an officer out to kind of organize things. So he called us all in from the searches where we were. So we got a hold of everybody. We had at that time maybe 75 people out looking. Their family and friends, people that knew Eric, went to school with them, people that worked with them. It was amazing. The uh, they came in and kind of got us a place and got us organized so we weren't looking over the same places. So they got that going.
Yeah.
They gave us another day and got us the Green Mountain Rec Center, set that up, and then they decided they would go do their search, or not their search, but their investigation of it. There had been some calls about somebody who got picked up by a taxi in that area at that time. Nothing ever came of that. Um, we lost a lot of, there's not a lot of video cameras in that area. They're kind of at the foot of Green Mountain, which is just a little foothill down there in the area, and it's a big open space. Um, so the street they're on, there's not a lot of photo cameras or anything like that. But they didn't, down in the gas station below them, they didn't go in till the next week to get video footage from that, and it had already been recorded over. So
Mm. That was
most of
going to be my next question was surveillance.
yeah, and so it didn't. That would have maybe backed up Caleb and Priyanka's story that they walked out there. They should have showed up on that videotape. Just
Gosh, did you guys knock on neighbors' doors to see if they heard anything or saw anything?
yeah, yeah, they did. That was part of the police searches. They went from door to door in the condo complex. Um, a lot of the problem with the police is, you know, police departments are way undermanned, and I don't think they're well trained in doing this. They may have a couple of uh, detectives who do a pretty good job about it, but I don't think at the ground level a lot of them are trained. And if they are, it's not a real extensive training. So I will give that to them. Um, but we wasted a lot of time searching through neighborhoods. If they was lost in a neighborhood, someone would see them and turn them in.
For sure, for sure.
um, so that was our deal with the police, and so they've gotten better through the last 4 or 5 years, or well, it'll be 4 years this year. Um, we are getting cooperation from them with things that we have asked them to do. They have done at our urging. Sometimes they haven't done a really great job. When we went into, we wanted them to be re-interviewed. They
Hmm.
weren't. They weren't filmed, and they weren't taken to an interview room. Pretty was actually interviewed in a courtyard, uh, in a very relaxed setting. So we don't even have that kind of
So
information.
they really didn't take it serious. Like,
No, it was, I think from the beginning, it was looked at as a 25-year-old drunk kid walked off, and, we don't have time to waste on this.
yeah. Well, you're
They're
right. They don't have enough manpower.
they don't. They don't. It's frustrating on our end. We have to understand that, but at the same time,
Oh yeah, that's your boy, man. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine what you and Denise have been through.
uh,
And but for you to understand that they don't have the manpower that, I don't know if I would even be able to accept that. I would be like,
yeah,
that's got to be really
there there
hard.
there are times, and they get it in emails over and over, and
Sure. Well, you have no resolution. It sounds to me like these three people were the last people to see your son,
yeah,
and none of them are in contact with you even to this day. And like
no,
this Caleb doesn't call and say, "Hey, is there any updates on
no,
Eric?"
we don't get any of that. So yeah, then after the car incident, she pretty much cut us off totally. She won't contact us.
How
Um,
convenient.
yeah, so we put up flyers in their neighborhood still. I was just out there with Jessica. She's doing a podcast, and she wanted to get a lay of the area. She also contacted Caleb, and Pretty wouldn't respond, and Caleb didn't either. Um, so while we were out there, her brother showed up, and so I think he was kind of surprised to see us out there, and thought for sure we were going to get a harassment phone call from the cops or whatever. But
Does
we're
she
still,
still live in the condo?
yeah, she's still in the condo, and her sister has moved in with her.
Is a
So
sister with Caleb to this day?
no, that didn't take off.
Interesting. So does Caleb, do you know, have any contact with Pretty at all?
Not that I'm aware of. And every time we
I'd like
do,
to get Caleb alone. That's what I because they're not friends, right? So
right,
you've got Caleb over here, and then you've got these sisters who are obviously going to stick together.
right, right. And so that's the thing. I think Caleb and Pretty, in my opinion, I don't think they got along. That was Eric's friend and Eric's fiance,
Yeah.
but they were
Well, if
not.
Caleb's listening, I implore Caleb to talk about maybe if he if he knows something. It sounds to me like these people they know something, and they're not being upfront.
Yeah, it's just the weird things that happen through it, and uh, that's just it. Caleb's kind of dropped off the map, and uh,
Yeah, I mean, if that was my friend, God, I would not lose touch with their parents.
right. There's kids. There's a kid that Eric went to school with, and he's moved down to Texas. When he comes home on the holidays, his parents still live in our neighborhood, and he has to stop by to see us. Um, there's some people with AMR who keep in constant contact with us. They have actually left the ambulance service, but they still get a hold of us to see how we're doing. Our support has been really good. Um, we had, like I say, we have our peaks and valleys. We have like you coming to interview us, and we had some podcasts in the last couple of weeks. We had another group. Um, can't even give you their name off the top of my head,
It's okay.
but they've come to help out, and so there's like a lot of activity, and then all of a sudden there's nothing, and so
Mm-hmm.
it was like
Frustrating.
feels like Denise and I are just out there on an island by ourselves sometimes.
Oh. And I saw an interview with your oldest son. I'm sorry, I forgot his name now.
Market, yeah,
Yeah, and he has your grandparents, because he said that Eric is an uncle.
yes, yes, we are grandparents. We have our little grandbaby. They've moved in with us after Eric just went disappeared. Um, so we get to see him every day and love on
Oh,
him.
that's nice.
So that's kind of a help
It's
to
kind
have
of
them.
bittersweet, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I think it's very, very suspicious that those three who would have like they're the last people to see your son alive and well, and they've just completely cut off contact. That's
Yeah, and for them to every time we do a podcast or a show or an interview, they try to reach out to him. And I think at some point, if you're upset with what I'm saying, um, you're
defend
what?
yourself.
Yeah, that's and I've never seen that happen, and I don't
Hmm.
understand why they won't.
Hmm.
I
Well,
mean,
if
that's
if any of them are listening, I would love to have them on
yeah,
and talk with them.
yeah. So
I wish that we could get a hold of them. Is the FBI involved? Is a question that I have in chat.
FBI came in that very first week when the police were there and did phone pings. They're the ones that actually tried to get a direction. Where was his phone and what happened? And the science behind the pings is bizarre. It's very confusing. So we met with Agent Eicher from the FBI to have him explain it to us. And so they show us a graph, and it shows each ping as a line going across. And so where those pings dissect, that's the most likely where Eric's phone would have been at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are right at the condo. They're in that area. And so I flat out asked him, I said, is there a chance that that phone never left the condo? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean,
So it's possible that he didn't walk off and didn't take his phone.
yeah, yeah,
And the neighbors heard nothing.
no, nope. And they were having a party upstairs. I think they had some get together or something upstairs. Yeah, the door to door thing didn't really pan out. Um, they went door to door. The police went door to door, but the majority of them, we went and got the police report, and we keep it updated. We go in every few months to see, if there's anything. But they keep in pretty good contact with us, let us know what's going on.
Have you
Uh,
guys thought about hiring like a private investigator?
we have talked to private investigators. One of the investigators that we got with was an ex Denver detective.
Okay.
My wife's father was a retired Denver detective, and he passed away a year ago.
Oh.
But the guy that we had contacted actually knew Dick and uh, wanted to get involved, and he went through and looked at the police report. And the problem with private investigator coming in is private investigator can't do any more than the police are doing. They didn't go and look at it as a crime. They never have looked at it as crime because there's no evidence of a crime. Well, they didn't investigate it as a crime to begin with, so they didn't go into the condo, and do a complete forensic search. So no luminol was used. No, um, all the only search that they did at the beginning was the detectives went over, walked around, walked through the apartment, and we kind of called him on that, and he's like, no, we did a thorough search. The only thing different is I put the stuff back. At that time, we hadn't taken the gun safe back to our house to open it up, and we had to actually. She didn't know what the combination was. It's an electronic lock, but it also you can open it with a key, and the key was in a shoebox, which was literally just above the gun safe. So if they'd have done a thorough search, they'd have found that key sitting right above the. So they did go back in and do a search, but he told her, "Yeah, we're coming over to search the condo. So whatever's there, she could have got rid of if there's anything that was incriminating, or she still has his laptop. His laptop was never looked into.
Oh my gosh. And she
And
wouldn't give it to you?
no, we never requested the laptop. I mean, that wasn't important at that time, but now there's no way she'll give it to us. Um, Police have never taken that. Even at the time, they didn't talk to any of his employees or employers or any of his um, partners during this time. if you think he went off and hurt himself, don't you think you would have talked to those people and said, got kind of what his basic thoughts were if he was having trouble? Or
Right, right. They would have picked up on something, it sounds like.
and and
Well, and
we
your
actually
son
did
was
go.
was drinking and celebrating and like hanging out with friends. It doesn't sound like it's a few hours later he's gonna, decide I'm gonna go hurt myself. That doesn't,
Right.
like, the whole time frame and the whole everything that was going on just doesn't sound like he was setting the stage to go do that.
No, and it doesn't. And when we talked to his boss, we actually went up to South Park and talked to Paul and some of his teammates, and they're like, Eric isn't that way. He goes, he was doing great. He goes, Eric is the guy who we come back from these calls and he gets us pumped
Oh,
up. His sense of humor. Um, we kept in really good contact with Paul. Uh, that's his former supervisor, and uh, they actually kept Eric's job open and didn't post it for
I saw that.
quite a while, and uh, that really touched us. He had to make the call to tell me that uh, they were going to have to post it and they're going to replace Eric, and he was he was crying, I was crying.
That's hard.
Yeah, I think he was more upset than I was, so I knew it was coming.
I have to imagine that had to be a really tough call to make and a really tough call
Yeah,
to receive because you probably knew it was coming, but you dreaded that day. Like,
right.
maybe
Right.
something will happen before, I'm
Yeah,
so
these poor guys.
sorry.
Yeah, these guys were a guy short for a few months because they kept that job open. So that was really nice of them.
Yeah. You guys need and deserve answers, and I hope that I hope that I can help in some way and just getting the word out. And I
Yeah, I think
just, if something sinister happened, they can't keep this under wraps forever.
I know. I think that we just keep hoping whoever
You
did
guys
that.
are
Like,
persistent. You're doing everything, in my opinion, that you should be doing. Every
uh,
couple months you're touching base, and
yeah,
oh man, the
it
patience that you must have.
it's frustrating. I'll tell you,
It's a
we've been
shame.
this for the first time this year. We went to there's a missing persons event at the state capitol, and this year they signed it into uh, legislation that it's missing persons day, and so we were there for that, and it was kind of nice because you'll have people who will tell you, I have no idea what you're going through, and believe me, you do never want to know what we're going through.
So you
um,
were able to kind of get with this people that are going through the same thing and
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like they understand you.
yeah. And so that's kind of where we met up with another group, Angels Flight, I believe is their name, and they're kind of a volunteer group. They uh, try to help find missing persons, and so they wanted to get involved. And I'm really sorry for them if I got their name wrong. um,
Well, I know that I think that the more that, YouTube and podcasts, I think that it's becoming easier for people to get the word out quicker
right,
instead of just having to rely on law enforcement.
exactly, and that's kind of what we try to do. Anyone who gets a hold of us for a podcast or whatever, we're always glad to do an interview or give the story out there because maybe your group is the one
You never know.
that someone's listening
I
to.
have so many listeners from Colorado because my channel started on the Chris Watts case.
Oh wow,
So
yeah.
I have a lot of people that watch my channel that live in Colorado. Is there a tip line or something that
uh
we can give out if somebody has information? Where can they
yeah.
call you guys, or do they call
You
law
can
enforcement?
call, yeah, Lakewood Police, and their number is 303-987-7111, and it's case number 16030309. just tell them it's their croc missing person case. I'm sure they're very familiar with it.
Well, that's
So
good, and you make sure that they stay familiar with it because you never know. You never
yeah,
know where that information could come from, and you guys really deserve some closure and answers.
right. And at the some of the research that we've done is, they call it the white woman syndrome. You bring up the Chris Watts, um, also the one in South Park, um, Chelsea Barrett.
Oh, Kelsey Barrett.
Chelsea
Mm-hmm.
Barrett. Um,
Yep.
so we were recently doing a pond search with Lakewood. Um, we had some dogs hit over there, and so they went in with the National Park Service, and then they brought a drone in to film footage because it's just like a little pond. It's on a mine, clay mine in the area over in the Solteria area, and so during that we had talked to the captain, and you know I had to ask him, why wasn't this looked at those cases? Why didn't you come in, do the investigation, and investigate it like there was a crime until
Mm-hmm.
proven otherwise? And so that's to get back to your question about the private investigator. That's why, because we have no evidence to go from the very start. We don't have anything, so it's not worth our while to pay somebody to go out. I mean,
Yeah, I
uh,
get it.
with the police, they can call you in and question you. A private investigator can ask if you want to do an interview, but
But if you don't want to talk, you don't have to talk.
right.
Yeah.
So
No, I understand that. That makes sense. Um, somebody wanted to know, and I know the answer to this because I've watched a lot of the videos out there, but they wanted to know if you're open to any psychic. What was the question exactly? Something about psychic readings in this, and I know that you've gone that down that avenue. Can you talk about that a little bit?
yeah, it's been reported a lot that the family called in a psychic, and this was like 2 weeks after it happened. Just to clear the air, we did not call in the psychic. Lakewood police contacted this psychic because they had worked with her on previous cases.
Interesting.
Um, the information she gave us with her reading was she feels he got hit by a car and they panicked, put him in the trunk, drove 15 miles to the west, and dumped him somewhere. We've taken those drives 15 minutes and then searched all the way back on the
Okay.
major highways that it is, and with no luck. Um, so, yeah, we're open to it. Um, we have been contacted by a lot of psychics, and nothing's ever come of it. So,
Well, this girl in chat, she has a team, and she said she would be willing to work on it. So, I mean, I can always give her your email and um
absolutely.
yeah, Angie, why don't you email me at jsforjustice@gmail.com, and then I will send you Randy and Denise's email, and you guys can take it from there.
Yeah. We worked with, it was called the TRD Team, and it's technical review something. And a lot of the stuff that they during like World War II, they would go in and it's done by kind of the same thing. And they like brainstorm and do this different training. And they were able to find missing paratroopers and stuff like that. And so they threw out a bunch of coordinates for us, but nothing ever came of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
stuff
mean, got to
that
be frustrating, but you don't want to turn down
it's one of
anything
those.
that could
Yes, it's one of those.
possibly help.
I believe I, I'm very skeptical at this point. So if I don't want to offend anyone, but uh,
No, not at all. I mean,
we've been approached by people that are like, "Oh yeah, he's right here. This is where you got to look for him." Nothing specific. Just, I mean, if you've been to Lakewood, okay, the area that they're in, they're right there up by Red Rocks. 15 minutes is you can go up 285. You can get all the way up to.
it's a big area.
It's huge. When you talk about, I know some of the questions come, well, did he get lost in the woods? Because that area, they talk about Green Mountain. It's not an actual mountain, it's a foothill. Um, there are some deep ravines, but it's more like low bushes. It's not anything that's like deep wooded areas. So he didn't walk off into the woods and get lost. Animal attack. There are bears in that area. There are mountain lions in that area. It's a distinct possibility, but there, I think there would have been blood. There would have been a sign of a struggle somewhere.
And he's
Um,
barefoot.
he's barefoot. The trails that are up on Green Mountain are pretty rugged. They're
Yeah, that would be pretty rough on the bottom of anybody's feet for
yeah,
sure.
and so to even alliterate on that, Eric was Mr. Babyfoot. He didn't go anywhere without shoes, so that always struck me as
Mm,
going down there without shoes. I rarely would we ever see Eric without shoes. So
yeah.
I'm not calling her a liar. The story could be true. It's just that always could he have went back and got shoes when she did she leave? I don't know.
Yeah, and we don't know if his shoes were missing or
And the only one that saw that he was in socks was Pretty. The other two didn't see him leave, so they can't even back that story up. So
how
uh,
convenient.
yeah,
It all sounds just way too convenient to me.
yeah. There's a lot of things that are just weird.
I'm so sorry. I mean, your son sounds like an amazing guy, and he
He's a good kid.
definitely didn't deserve
No, he
whatever in the heck happened there. But so, I believe. I mean, my opinion is something happened there.
yeah,
Does
yeah,
she still live in the condo right now?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
she
She's still there.
does.
Yep.
So it's never been searched.
They did go in finally do a search after we bugged them. This was like a year and a half later. Um, but a year and a half later is too late. It's not going to do any good. They didn't do any physical laboratory type things. They did still at that point didn't do luminol. They didn't treat it like it was. They just walked
They didn't
around.
treat it like a crime scene.
No, no. You get it. You got a year and a half later. You've got plenty of time to get that place.
Well, it's interesting, too. You brought up Kelsey Barrett. I followed that pretty closely, and they didn't pick up on anything in her condo either. Actually, her parents came and they found the blood in the bathroom on the toilet. They found a little bit
Yeah.
of blood, and they called up and said something's wrong here. And that
Right.
was when they did the more thorough search.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I
unbelievable.
feel for anyone going through this. It's very frustrating, and I know the police's hands are tied. It really, they can't prove it's, we can't prove it's a crime. So, they can't do anything. Um,
I mean, all you can do is give it time, and somebody might crack. That's what you hope for. That
right. And we're still searching. We've been working with a bloodhound. Um, he's trained cadaver dog, and he took us to an area in one of the ravines, and we were just getting ready to put out a big search. We are going to call in a bunch of people. So we have an area that we're kind of interested in that we need to get uh, in and search. But with this crazy world that we're going through right now, we haven't been able. We had to,
yeah, it's virtually impossible.
yeah, we
Yep.
had to cancel that, and so now we're kind of put on hold for a minute. So
Yeah, I mean, someone said Sluice Investigate in chat. She's actually in Colorado. She said, wish we could get drones up too.
yeah, um, it was amazing. The people that came out, we did have drones. We had a drone team came out and did work on Green Mountain. Lakewood Police um, did go in with a drone and did the south side of the Green Mountain just recently, probably within the last 3 months, 4 months,
Oh wow.
and nothing's come of it. We did because he took his paramedic school through St. Anthony, and he was helping them out with some do some classes there. He had pretty close. knit group there, and they did a flyover with their Flight for Life helicopter and did a infrared. That was Monday after when we started the search, or not when we started, but during the search, they came in and flew with that. We had people from Park County Search and Rescue come in. Uh, we had AMR, his former, when he was a paramedic, that group came in. They were phenomenal. They helped organize. They got the Red Cross in to feed volunteers. It was amazing to see kind of searches. So we have brought drones in the area. I have we still we're gonna bring drones into this area, and we've got the permit and everything. But
Have to get through this pandemic first.
yeah, once we get through the crazy, we'll get back at it. And that's here in Colorado, everybody is supposed to be inside, but everybody's
Yeah.
out walking, and so in the areas we're hoping maybe somebody will trip on it. And
Well, when you have something that you guys have put together, if you can keep in touch with me, then I can also put the word out. I have a Facebook group
okay,
that has about 20,000 people in it. Like I said, I have a lot of listeners from Colorado, so we can kind of keep the word out. And the more volunteers that you need, or if you guys need help with anything, I have a lot of really, really helpful people that watch my
yeah,
channel, and they're amazing. So
absolutely, we'll let you know. We'll keep
yeah,
you
for sure.
in the loop.
Well, I want to thank you for taking time to come on and tell Eric's story. I know that's pretty much what your
Yeah,
mission is now, is to get the word out and get answers.
yeah.
So
Thanks, Jeff.
I'm honored to be able to help if I can. So
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate you
it
putting
was
us on
nice
that.
meeting both of you.
It was nice meeting you too.
And please, keep in touch with me.
We will. All
Okay.
right.
Thanks, Randy.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, you guys, for tuning in and showing much respect for my guest. I appreciate that always. Great job, mods, as always. Thank you to everybody that joins. If you're not subscribed, please do click that subscribe button. Also, click the thumbs up. And thank you for everybody who donated towards that family. We are going to be dispersing those prizes to them, and I think that they're going to be very happy. Everybody, please stay safe, stay healthy. I want to hear that everybody's healthy. Lots of prayers to the PRACHT family. What nice people. What nice people. We need to get them some answers. So if you guys have any ideas for them, or any information, I don't know, but I would love to see them to get some answers. So my mouse died while I was live, so I can't even click off this screen. So I'm gonna actually turn off my monitor and plug in my mouse so that I can actually end my stream. So you guys, thanks again. I have no idea what my screen looks like right now since he hung up, so I'm probably really super big on the screen. But anyways, take care, and everybody have a great night. So give me 1 second. I have to plug in I have a wireless mouse and it died. All right. I know I'm still live. I know. I don't care. I'll trim this later. I have a mouse now, though. Oh, there we are. Okay. So everybody, thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.